Have you ever noticed how someone who used to reply in seconds suddenly takes days or never replies at all? No argument, no explanation, no goodbye, just silence. And somehow, silence hurts more than rejection. But here's the strange part. Most people spend months trying to figure out what they did wrong. What if I told you being ignored often says more about the other person than it does about you? The answer isn't obvious, and once you understand the psychology behind it, you'll never look at silence the same way again. Imagine this. You wake up, grab your phone, and check your messages. Nothing. You tell yourself they're probably busy. A few hours later, still nothing. Then you open social media. They're online. They're posting. They're laughing, replying to everyone except you. At that moment, your brain starts creating stories. Maybe they're angry. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe they don't like me anymore. Maybe I'm just not important. Notice something? You don't actually know what happened. Your brain is filling in the blanks. Psychologists call this negative interpretation bias. When information is missing, the human brain rarely creates positive stories. It creates painful ones. Because thousands of years ago, assuming the worst kept humans alive. Today, it mostly keeps us anxious. But here's where it gets interesting. The pain you're feeling isn't only emotional. Brain scans have shown that social rejection activates many of the same brain regions involved in physical pain. Your brain literally struggles to tell the difference between being physically hurt and being socially excluded. That's why being ignored can feel like someone punched you in the chest. Now here's the question nobody asked. Why do people suddenly change? The obvious answer is they don't care anymore. Sometimes that's true, but surprisingly, not always. Let's start with the first reason. People don't change overnight. Their priorities do. Think back to elementary school. You probably had a best friend, someone you thought would stay in your life forever. Where are they now? Neither of you necessarily became bad people. Life simply moved in different directions. College, work, relationships, responsibilities. People often confuse changing priorities with changing feelings. They're not always the same thing, but that's only one possibility. Here's another. Sometimes people ignore others because they feel guilty. Sounds strange, right? Imagine borrowing money from a friend and never paying it back. Eventually, you stop answering their calls. Not because you hate them, because every notification reminds you of your own discomfort. Avoidance temporarily reduces guilt. Psychologists call this avoidance coping. Instead of solving the problem, people escape the reminder. Ironically, the more guilty they feel, the more they disappear. Now let's flip the situation. Have you ever delayed replying to someone because you didn't know what to say? 1 hour became 1 day became 1 week. Eventually, replying felt awkward, so you never did. It wasn't hatred, it was embarrassment growing larger over time. Silence has momentum. The longer it lasts, the harder it becomes to break. But there's another reason that's even more uncomfortable. Some people ignore others because attention has value. Think about this. What happens when someone suddenly becomes less available? People often want them more. Scarcity increases perceived value. Luxury brands know this. Limited editions, waiting lists, exclusive access. The human brain naturally desires what feels scarce. Some people unconsciously use the same principle in relationships. They become unpredictable, hot one day, cold the next. Not because they're evil, but because inconsistency creates emotional dependency. Your brain keeps chasing certainty. It's the same psychological mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. You never know when the reward is coming, so you keep checking. One more message, one more notification, one more chance, and before you realize it, you're no longer chasing the person. You're chasing the possibility. But here's something even deeper. Sometimes the person ignoring you isn't trying to control you at all. They're simply overwhelmed. Imagine carrying invisible weights every day. Stress, bills, family problems, anxiety, health issues. People often disappear into survival mode. When life feels overwhelming, even replying to a simple text can feel exhausting. From the outside, it looks personal. Inside their mind, they're barely keeping themselves together. This doesn't excuse hurting people, but it reminds us that we rarely know the full story. Now here's the biggest mistake almost everyone makes after being ignored. They chase harder. They send another message, then another, then another. Not because they're weak, because uncertainty is psychologically addictive. The human brain hates unfinished stories. Researchers call this the Zeigarnik effect. Incomplete situations stay active inside your mind. That's why unanswered messages keep replaying in your head. Your brain wants closure. Any closure, even painful closure, feels better than uncertainty. But here's the paradox. The more desperately you chase answers, the less attractive you often become. Not because you don't deserve love, but because emotional pressure pushes people away. Confidence creates space. Desperation removes it. Now let me tell you something that changed the way I see relationships forever. Imagine two mirrors facing each other. One reflects the other endlessly. That's what healthy relationships look like. Attention flows both ways. Effort flows both ways. Respect flows both ways. The moment only one mirror keeps reflecting, the image eventually disappears. Relationships cannot survive on one person's effort forever, and that's a painful truth many people refuse to accept. Here's another thought experiment. Imagine Imagine meeting someone today who has never ignored you, never made you question your worth, never made you overthink every message. Would you spend your energy chasing someone who constantly disappears, or building something with someone who consistently shows up? The answer seems obvious, yet emotions rarely follow logic, because being ignored often triggers something much older than the relationship itself. It awakens our deepest fear, the fear of not being enough. But here's the truth. Someone's silence is not a measurement of your value. It is information, nothing more. Information about compatibility, information about priorities, information about communication, not about your worth. And once you stop treating silence like a verdict, you start seeing it as clarity. Some people leave loudly, others leave quietly, but both teach the same lesson. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. The people who truly value you don't make you solve impossible puzzles just to know where you stand. They communicate, they show up, they make room for you. So the next time someone suddenly changes, don't immediately ask, "What's wrong with me?" Instead, ask, "What is this situation trying to teach me?" Because sometimes the greatest gift someone gives you isn't their attention, it's their absence. It reveals who they really are and reminds you who you should never stop being. The moment you stop begging to be noticed, you become impossible to ignore.